We're shifting into a new paradigm. The world is moving away from living in survival and learning how to thrive. We're shedding everything we have been conditioned to believe and creating a new reality as we uncover the truth within us. The truth is in our bodies, in connection with our sexuality. With this comes change in the way we approach intimacy in all of our relationships. The New Paradigm Intimacy podcast is here to support you to understand how we can better experience sex, love, and connection. Each episode, we will be sharing the voices of leaders who are supporting the shift in the new paradigm by harnessing the power of sexual energy so that you can experience your deepest pleasure and all of your aliveness. Hello, good evening and good morning, and welcome to the Institute New Paradigm Intimacies Self-Pleasure Education Series podcast. And I am your host, Dr. Elizabeth Willis, and the director of the Institute New Paradigm Intimacy. And today I'm joined with my friend and colleague and teacher and mentor, Aaron Kleinerman. Thank you so much, Aaron, for being here with us.
Yeah, it's a delight to be here with you.
And Aaron is going to be one of our guest facilitators in our upcoming round that begins April 14th. And I'm going to have him go ahead and introduce himself to the audience.
Yeah, so hi, everyone. My name is Aaron Kleinerman. I've been working and teaching in this field of transformational development the last 16, 17 years, especially the last 10 years around Tantra and really who we are as an emotional sexual being in the world. I feel like for myself, where I've grown the most is in the areas of where my deepest shadows were. So a lot of how I work with people is helping them address and meet their deep unconscious so that they can turn their unconscious conscious and start to have more true embodied power in their life, financially, emotionally, sexually, to show up as the true being that they're meant to be. So that's a lot of how I show up. I have a master's degree in spiritual psychology, been coaching and doing this for a long time, and have an extensive list of clients and run retreats and groups all over the world and helping people online, and the list goes on and on. I'm currently in Bali in my brand new home I just finished building, which is super exciting, and also have a community retreat center in Portugal. And yeah, so very grateful for this beautiful life I get to live to help and transform people's lives.
Thank you so much for sharing. It's beautiful. And Aaron and I met maybe 2 years ago at a retreat. And I remember so clearly that Aaron, in his role as my teacher and facilitator at that time, was a perfect embodiment for me to project my judgment on. And I remember I sat with it for many, many days before I was able to come forth and share my vulnerability with Aaron. And it was just met with such warmth, and it dissolved like the moment that we spoke and the moment that we connected. And it was just so beautiful. So thank you so much for that.
You're very welcome. Your judgments on me are always welcome.
So let's get started. And the question that I'm asking all of the guest facilitators is to share a little bit about like their first step into sexuality, because the piece that I'm playing with in this upcoming round and what I've noticed is, to dive into doing work on sexuality is crossing a threshold. And there's some, and for some, a lot of this like wobbliness of like, do I go? Do I not go? Why am I going? What am I doing? What is over here? And So I want to ask you, like, where was that threshold for you that you crossed, and what was that like, and how did it feel like in your body, and what did it look like on the outside?
Yeah, it's a good question. For me, if I look back actually to my first like time of making love, we made love for probably 3, 4 hours. We both lost our virginity in the first night, and we made love in the bedroom, went out to the pool, came back into the bedroom, and we were kind of monogamous, through we were 15, 16 years old, and that was a beautiful lovemaking journey. And it was actually interesting for me because I didn't really have any reference points, so that's just what I assumed people did. They make love for hours and you connect, and it's, your heart is with one. And as that, relationship developed, we ended up obviously splitting up and things shifted and changed. And it was, quite a few years later where I actually started to realize that people had a lot of struggle with sexuality. And for me, it's not that it always came naturally, but it was something that was quite more easeful for me to make connection with women, to be confident, to be clear, to, last a long time in the bedroom. And as I grew and developed in this world of coaching and supporting people, I started to recognize more and more, especially male bodies, how much challenge people were having in the bedroom around their sexual energy. So my challenge that I moved through was learning how to, have a level of understanding that I understood in my mind, in my genitals, and actually integrating the two. And I remember the first time, through a tantric massage where I felt the integration point between my consciousness and my base. And at
Mm,
that point, my Kundalini woke up and my body was just like vibrating for days and days. And I felt this whole new expanse of my capacity to envision life. And it actually happened here in Bali. I was living in Ubud with a partner, really a tantric woman that initiated me into a lot of this path. And through that opening, I started to see life a lot differently. And a lot of the energy that I was only focusing towards sexuality in the bedroom started to expand into all of the other areas of my life. It wasn't that I was making love with everyone, it was just that my erotic fire could start to be applied into my business, into client creation, into, years later writing a best-selling book. The creation of the book was after making love with my partner, a different partner, for almost, a year and a half straight. And then she left. And after making love every day for almost a year and a half straight, like I had a lot of sexual energy moving through my body. I'd had a vision of a book I wanted to write. So I just tucked myself up into the jungle near to where I am right now. And I wrote every day for 30 days. So that was sexual energy that
mm,
had been moving towards lovemaking now is being manifest into writing a book. So they're very intertwined together. And this is really to answer your question to someone who's asking the why. The way we show up in the bedroom is the way we show up in life. And any of our shadows, any of our fears, any of our doubts, any of our shame, our insecurities, all the things that are getting away, like getting in our way in the bedroom, I guarantee in one way, shape, or form, it's getting in the way in life as well. So the more that people can clear through their issues in the bedroom, that can expand into that much more that they can do outside of the bedroom.
hmm. Beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing that.
Mhm.
And in that piece too of like understanding what those issues are in the bedroom, right? Like being able to see the unconscious in sex. For me, that was an experience that took some time. Like that was an experience that took because I feel like there for in my own experience, like there was so much conditioning around sex. There were so many pieces that weren't necessarily mine that were weighing down on my erotic energy and on who I was presenting myself to be. And so it took time to like peel those pieces apart to then be like, oh, okay, so now this is what I'm doing and this is what's happening. And then, taking apart these pieces to really see them.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, if you look at it from the framework of our values, and in our life, there's many layers of values that we hold about how we show up in the boardroom, in the bedroom. So these layers of our values are often superimposed from our young years, how we observed our parents. Was there a healthy conversation parents had around sexuality? Was it hidden? Was, self-pleasure or masturbation something that was like frowned upon? Was our education around sexuality from the church or religion? All of these different factors create a certain value structure that impact our decision making and who we are in the bedroom. So just as you're beautifully saying, when we unravel that onion and let go of all the things that aren't actually ours, and we know ourselves as a sacred sexual being, that's our natural birthright. In the womb, there's documentation of children playing with themselves. It's a very natural thing. A child, as he or she is getting to know their body, is naturally, touching their genitals. It's then only the parents that come in and say, no, 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 you can't do that. That's bad. You're not allowed to. So then that value structure of the parents, who's a parental guardian, comes into the child, and the child thinks, oh, I can't touch my genitals, just something's gross or bad about it. And then that child grows up with that value structure, those limiting beliefs, all the way until they get to the bedroom. So when they then go to have sex, they have the lights off. They're afraid of having their genitals seen, and they think it's some shameful thing that, God is going to blasphemize them for. It's a horrific education that we have around sexuality. So individuals as yourself are beautifully helping people refine their truth around sexuality, so we can find freedom in the bedroom and in the boardroom, in all areas of our life.
Right, right. And that's that stepping across. And that's what makes it's almost like it's a pull and a push. It's like a scary thing. And it's like, yes, but I want to know more. And like, oh, but yes, like that inner conflict.
I mean, I see that all the time where people come into, one of the trainings I teach, and it's not all about sex, but most trainings I deal with sexuality in some way, shape, or form. And sometimes people are like, I don't really know exactly what I'm getting into. I just know I'm supposed to be here. And you could feel underneath it. I'm sure you felt it before. There's like a trembling inside
Yeah.
that they finally are willing to confront and meet that trembling so that they can find more of their true power.
Yeah. Go to where you tremble.
Yeah, exactly.
Follow that tremble in
And
life.
that's really what I appreciate, in our first, encounter in that way. You came to me and I could feel there was a tremble, there was a judgment, there was like a lot of
Yeah.
projections there. And it was just like to witness you in that way of expressing that. It was just like there's such a vulnerability. And actually, that vulnerability was recognizing you and seeing you grow in that power that was inside of you that had projected whatever it was upon me. Actually taking that off and owning those pieces inside of you has allowed you, and I've seen you in the last 3 4 years just grow and expand into being such a powerful businesswoman and a powerful mother, and really making a big impact in the planet. So yeah, celebrating your tremble.
Thank you. Thank you. And following that tremble. I appreciate it.
Mhm.
I appreciate it. And so, in that vein, since you're going to be coming and being one of our guest facilitators in this round, I'd love for you to share a little bit around what you're going to be bringing, what you're going to be teaching. And as we discussed, prior to the call, talking a little bit about, business in this realm and sexuality. And I feel that you are somebody you've shared your story with me. About how you got started. I feel like you're somebody who's really navigated and journeyed this extensively.
Yeah, no, it's a good question. I mean, for me, business wise, I think, and ask anyone who's been in relationship with me, and they know that a quality that I have is a strong level of persistence. Uh,
Hmm.
what it's taken in building this house, it's what it's taken to, build the business that I have, which is, thriving and successful, and many more clients and people than I really can handle at this point. And finding more systems to put it all together.
Hmm.
One of the things I'm excited to teach people in your program is how to worked with the level of healthy persistence in growing and expanding their business. Because what I see a lot of, like someone might be coming into your program who they're inspired, they're excited, they're like, I want to do this, I want to create this in their community, and they want to, impact others. And then they meet roadblocks along the way. And these roadblocks are the parts of our being that we need to actually learn how to break free. But sometimes the roadblocks come and we think that they're real. So
Mm,
there are tools and techniques that I can teach people, and this is a lot of what I do, to help move through those roadblocks to actually expand and to grow into more of the individual and the being that they're wanting to be. And it's challenged because to really to do that in a healthy way, it means that a lot of the way in which maybe someone has done business in before needs to actually die, because the way in which we've learned how to do business before can be quite exhausting.
mm,
Like it interesting for me, a lot of people look at all the different things that I do, and I'm teaching for over 5 different schools. I'm running online schools. I'm teaching practitioner trainings. I'm about to start an advanced facilitation program. I'm, building basically 3 homes and communities simultaneously. There's a lot on my plate that I'm doing. When I feel into my nervous system with that, there isn't a level of stress. Like there's just like there's a naturalness of just moving slowly ahead one after another day by day that I'm able to create from. And that's definitely been learned. And what I help people, especially around business, is expand the energetic frequency of the power they're able to hold. And the more that we're
mm,
able to hold and to influence and to impact, not from the influence of verifying our ego that's trying to prove itself in the world, but the influence of actually living in the destiny and the potentiality of our soul, which is a different vibrational alignment, then we expand in what we can hold. And then as a result, more and more things can come in that we can then impact and create, and still do it with joy, with ease, and with grace. My motto in business, I was just having a meeting yesterday with a guy that's going to be finalizing the landscape design on my home. And, amazing Javanese guy who, he's just really sound. You could tell he really knew his stuff. And I said, listen, my motto with anything is ease and grace. And if anything that goes outside of that starts to, like, I can deal with conflict, but if it's a consistent conflict that's getting in the way of ease and grace, then we're going to need to change some things around. So that's generally how I am. And people know that when I do business, like I can be quite dark and direct and clear, but
mhm,
I'm doing it from the place of keeping a level of spaciousness and freedom inside of my life and not getting way overwhelmed in my stress hormones, because I don't want any of that. That's just not what I desire, and it's not what I'm creating.
mhm. And that certainly takes, because you spoke about it just in that share right there, this quality of the capacity of the nervous system to hold the chaos, to hold everything that's moving through it without, and like, it's a separation of the reactivity in the nervous system. So it's like you're feeling the sensations, you're feeling the chaos, you're feeling the build, you're feeling everything that's moving. And there still can be space, maybe not space to take something else on, but there's space that there is a non-reaction happening. So I think that the nervous system is such an important piece in that building.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's really where I see the differentiation between someone in this field as compared to someone building a business, let's say in the corporate America world or whatever it may be, is if you're teaching people and supporting someone how to live with more somatic awareness, then that's something that you as a facilitator or a teacher or someone that's wanting to grow in this world needs to be doing themselves. And that's been the biggest learning, point for me, is that I knew the only way I could live and breathe in this world of what I'm teaching and expanding into is being the embodiment of what I want to be creating. And that's been a challenge
Mhm.
at times because I've had to rewire my nervous system in order to expand into what I'm able to hold. And I'm constantly meeting my edge of that. Even, at the beginning of this year, literally on December 31st, I was landing in Bali, and, I was receiving a message back from a client from basically expanding into what I know what I should be earning for the clients I'm working with. And that took a few different conversations to really step up into that. And then when I did, and then seeing, one of the first sessions was like, my value's already been given. Like the first session, he's like, I've already received the value of what you've given me. And now everything is just the icing on the cake. And that
Mhm.
was just like a reaffirmation of knowing the value that I'm impacting in someone's life. But that initial like conversation, making that happen, I could feel my system rewiring in that way to really know who I am and what I not like should be receiving from some place of righteousness, but actually should be receiving from the level of impact that I know I'm making in my life and the lives of others. So that's been a constant journey, and it continually is. And I'm excited to teach some of the students in your program how to navigate that in a healthy way so they can expand into more and more of who they're meant to be, especially, with finances and business.
I love that. I love that example. And that example to me is like, it's like a spreading out. Cause like with that one piece, you said you were having the conversation and you noticed like it was in your body and you noticed all the pieces that were coming through. And it's almost like that's the nervous system capacity expanding because it's a moment by moment where before you might have, you might have gone past it. You might not have heard it. You might not have seen it. Like there might have been that quicker reaction, but when you can like spread it out like that, you can see all those parts of you like, oh, this is here. Oh, this is here. Oh, and and I'm having the conversation and this is how I'm going to choose to move forward. And yes, I see that. And so it all just kind of like, it just slows down. It's like slow motion.
Yeah, yeah. And what I was loving with that was literally the week before that, I was in Costa Rica teaching a retreat with an ex-partner of mine who, is a dear friend. And we were talking directly about that. And she was talking about her journey from kind of expanding, her fees that she was working with clients, and how it was less about her mind just saying it and actually needing to rewire her nervous system to be able to hold that level of finance and energy. And so as she was sharing, I was, in the breaks and things, starting to do that for my own nervous system and starting to rewire my own beliefs. And I found that in each conversation, it was like, okay. Yeah, I could feel that this is actually more of the truth of who I am, and the beliefs coming up of, oh, you're
Mhm.
not worthy and you don't deserve that and all those things. I was noticing them, not buying into them, but just allowing
Right.
them to be them and to feel them into my body.
Yeah. Yeah. It's powerful. It's really wild. Like those little experiences become like, oh wow, okay. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's like I look at, this next week, and the other crazy thing, this is, it's all been happening the last couple of weeks, so it's a perfect timing for this conversation. The thing I love about energetics with business, I haven't like since probably a week or two before, maybe Christmas. So I was teaching a retreat, and then I went into holiday, and then it was New Year's, and I just haven't really been posting a lot on Instagram and doing things like that. I've been more in like my own little love bubble with my beloved, just really enjoying it. So on a marketing business side, I haven't, I've been putting out my podcast and things like that. I haven't really done like big pushes towards new clients. And I have an entire like email inbox full of new clients that want to work with me. And I'm like, I don't know what that means, but okay. It is absolutely energetic. There's something inside of me that had to expand into a new energetic frequency to then allow other people to say, oh yeah, it's time now to reach out to Aaron. I'm ready to work with him. That
Hmm.
wasn't like a marketing email push of me saying, I'm going to get these people to sign up. That was me just being in my joy, being in my creation, being in my own like side, doing the inner work, but
Hmm.
but doing that from here and then trusting that everything was going to happen. And that's what's happening. And it's like part of it's actually blowing my mind a little bit as well. I'm like, okay, all right, this has happened before. Like I had a situation years ago. It was actually right during COVID. I did this program that was helping to realign my energetic body into being able to hold more. And I was at a time where, I had clients, I had things, but I was still, finding my way through. And I remember at the end, a teacher, she's like, you might, after a couple of weeks of doing this work, find that there'll be a couple more zeros in your bank account. And I was like, I don't know. I was skeptical. And the same thing happened. Like, I didn't do any marketing during that time. And then all of a sudden there are these new requests of people that wanted to work with me. And I'm like, wow, there's something to this. There's something to the energetics of business that is less about what you're trying to do and more about what you're trying to be inside.
Yeah, I feel that fully. Yeah.
Hmm.
I love that for sure. And I feel that too in this calling in of this next round of students who are coming in to join us in April.
Amazing.
Yeah. Well, I'm so looking forward. I do want to keep these podcasts short and sweet. And for the listeners, thank you so much for listening. And we would love to have you join us. Aaron is going to be one of our guest facilitators at our next round at the Institute New Paradigm Intimacy, where we hold our 9-month self-pleasure modality certification program. So thank you so much, Aaron. Do you have anything else to share with the audience?
No, just sharing, wherever you are in your journey, wherever it's happening for you, just trust and know that you're loved, you're honored, you're worthy of creating the life and the dreams of your desires, and just keep coming back to self-love inside, and that's really what everything expands from.
I love that. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you for tuning in to the New Paradigm Intimacy podcast. My name is Dr. Elizabeth Willis, and I am your host and owner of the Institute New Paradigm Intimacy. I hope you enjoyed today's episode and found it both activated and vibrated in your body. If you liked what you heard, please be sure to subscribe to our podcast on Apple and Spotify and leave us a review. It really helps us out. Don't forget to follow us on Instagram and Facebook at New Paradigm Intimacy. For behind-the-scenes content and enrollment notifications for our graduate self-pleasure modality certification course and more tips as we bring pioneering approaches to sex, business, and relating. Have any questions, comments, or topic suggestions? We'd love to hear from you. Drop a message on any of our social platforms. Until next time, keep exploring your edges in pleasure and leaning into what it means for you to be a part of the cutting edge of sexual evolution.